Bright Suns, I'm the Back to Bookworm, and this is my Quacky Monkey Lizard Boots. And this is my review of Race to Crashpoint Tower by Daniel José Older. Let's get this review started. Punch it, Boots! Race to Crashpoint Tower is the second middle grade novel from the High Republic series. After the Great Disaster is over and dealt with, people have gone back to their normal lives. But as people around the galaxy come together in battle for the Republic Fair, they start to realize that the galaxy isn't as safe as they thought. Ram Jamaram, a mechanically inclined Padawan, is the main character of this book, and he is awesome. First off, he's a mechanic, which I love, and he often works with tiny monkey bat rats called Bonbrax, which is also awesome. Two other important characters in this book are Luna Talisola and Zine Morala, a Mikian. Both of them were first introduced in the High Republic Adventures comics. They're both cool characters, but I won't say much about them other than the fact that Zine adds a really cool element to the story. And then, of course, we have the droid, V-18, the purple crate-like droid who essentially saves the day. Since this is a part of the second wave of the High Republic series, it is not focused on the Great Disaster. That is, of course, mentioned many times throughout the book, but that isn't what they're currently dealing with. Life seems to have gone back to normal. Something that I find interesting is that the Nihil are thought to be almost defeated, which is something the reader knows isn't true, but the average citizen in the High Republic is under the impression that they are gone, though anyone who isn't an average citizen surely knows that the Nihil are nowhere near gone. So as I was reading this book, I realized that many of the characters have already been introduced in the comics. I haven't read any of the comics yet. I want to, but I get them from the library when they come out as compilations. This book does a good job of recapping what happened in the comics, but I definitely want to read the comics as soon as I can to fill in the rest of the blanks. One problem with reading this before the comics is that I already know what happens in some of them, since it was covered in the recap. So if you want to read the comics, I would definitely recommend reading the first wave of comics before you read this book. You definitely don't have to read any of the High Republic books that came before this one, especially since this book is aimed at a younger audience who probably won't read the longer books. But if you want some background, reading the previous books, especially Into the Dark and Test of Courage, along with some of the comics, will provide that for you. I like how this story starts off as two completely separate stories, but then merges into one. It's nice to have two different storylines happening that aren't too much to keep track of. Even when the stories meet up, you can still tell the difference between the two. All of the High Republics tell stories in different ways, and that is something I really like about this series. I definitely enjoyed this book more than Test of Courage, and I might be biased since mechanics appeal to me more than jungles, but if I had to choose between the two middle grade novels, I would 100% choose this one. I like the characters a lot, and the story just seemed more interesting to me than a Test of Courage, though that is just my personal opinion, so definitely don't let that influence your opinions of either book. One thing that was mentioned in previous High Republic books that I was really excited for was Wayseekers, or Grey Jedi as they're known in Star Wars Legends media. Wayseekers are Jedi who operate outside of the Jedi Order. We saw a bit of this in the Old Republic, but it was never canon, so I'm happy they brought this into the High Republic. The reason I like this so much is because it's a way for people who aren't quite sure that they are fully Jedi to act independently from the Council. It's an easier way for everyone who doesn't fit in to pursue their own life, which I find really cool and a potential gateway into a lot more books. When looking at the front cover of this book, I assumed that the Bonbrax were just cute monkey bat rats that caused trouble. But then I read the book and I found out that they were actually sentient, which is amazing. They're kind of like Babu Frick, but cooler. The Nihil obviously play an important part in this story, but they are in this story differently than they have been in the past. One thing I found really interesting in this book is that most people are under the impression that the Nihil are gone. In the past books, they were facing a new threat, but now in this book, it's kind of like they're facing something that isn't even supposed to be around anymore. I'm going to give this book a 4 out of 5 and a thumbs up from Boots. This book might be aimed towards younger kids, but anyone who's looking for a light Star Wars read can enjoy this too. I would read this again and would recommend this book. It would also be a great book for someone younger who's trying to start reading Star Wars books. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this review, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. If you read this book, tell me what you thought about it down below. Or, if you have a different Star Wars book you would like me to review, feel free to leave a comment and I might make a video about it sometime soon. Boots and I will see you next time, and until then, may the books be with you.